friends. Thanks for joining me again. Always happy to have you here. Today we have another episode of Let's Talk Tech, and today we're going to be talking about a tool that I have used for a couple years. It's called Otter.ai. If you haven't heard of Otter.ai, it's an AI-powered transcription and meeting assistant that records conversations and turns them into searchable, editable transcripts. Basically, it listens to your meetings or recordings and creates transcripts automatically, which should, at least for me, help you work with what was said. Now, as a freelancer, a lot of my work starts with conversations. As someone who's in learning and development, I spend a lot of time with interviewing people, having stakeholder meetings, and facilitating discussions with subject matter experts, or SMEs, as they're most often called. These interactions are where my most important insights surface. So having an accurate record of the conversations that I have with these various folks isn't just convenient for me. It's imperative for me because I need this information to be able to create or deliver a course that meets the expectations of my client. Now, I currently have a paid Otter.ai subscription, and I've used it primarily to record and transcribe the subject matter expert conversations that I have for projects where I was hired to develop, design, and oftentimes deliver a specific course. Now, in these projects, the SMEs were reserved by the company. They were asked to help advise me on what content should be included for the relevant target audience. Oftentimes, they also act as reviewers for the course once I've created a first draft. This is really important because I am a learning and training professional, but I don't always have expertise in the content that the client is asking me to capture for their course. So being able to accurately capture the language, examples, and recommendations from these SMEs is so important because it makes it easier for me to extract important details from those conversations that I use when I am creating or inevitably delivering a course on these topics. I did start off with a free Otter.ai subscription, but I quickly upgraded. They do have a free option, but I find it to be very limited. I guess it is good to have and to try it to see if it really is going to meet your needs. But I suspect that most freelancers will end up having to pay for an Otter.ai subscription if you decide to move forward using this application. Now, myself, I've used Otter.ai to, as I mentioned, record the SME conversations. I really like their auto transcription feature. And I use those transcripts to extract terminology, requirements, examples, constraints, and all of those types of things for the courses that I'm building or inevitably delivering. So I can use it to build an outline, build an actual course script to help me design materials like a deck or a presenter's guide or a participant's guide, along with relevant activities for the content that the course is focusing on. So I feel that Otter.ai has saved me a lot of time compared to relying on handwritten notes or memory, which in my case is definitely not the most successful method. Using Otter.ai, I can search the transcript, I can revisit the exact phrasing from the subject matter expert, and I can make sure that I wasn't misinterpreting what the SME or the stakeholder who owns the project meant. This is something that matters a lot when accuracy and credibility are part of the deliverable. One of the things that I also appreciate about Otter is simple. It's easy to use. The interface is very straightforward. The setup is quick. And I don't feel like you have to be a technical guru to be able to get started with it and use the tool itself. It sort of just works. So if you're a freelancer that juggles many platforms and clients and deadlines, like most of us do, the low friction of getting started with Otter is valuable. Now, one of the reasons that I actually did subscribe to this tool is because it has very good transcription accuracy, in my opinion. And not too long ago, I would have confidently said that Otter's transcription was noticeably more accurate than what I was getting from Microsoft Teams or Microsoft Stream. And at the time that I started subscribing to Otter, this difference alone justified me using a separate tool. However, I would like to say that the landscape is changing, in my opinion. I have noticed that Teams and Stream transcription have improved significantly. And I do feel like Microsoft is closing the gap. At this point, I've actually started questioning whether I can remove my Otter transcription, which obviously would be saving myself an expense, and just rely on transcription directly in Teams, or if I should still be using Otter and the subscription is justified, because if I have a meeting in Zoom or in Google Meet, then I have to take that extra step to upload the recording to Stream and let Stream handle the transcription. So from a purely transcription accuracy standpoint, the difference between the platforms is no longer as dramatic as it once was in my personal experience. But with that said, I do feel like Otter still has some advantages, because even with Microsoft's improvements and even acknowledging that you can edit transcripts easily in Stream, Otter still offers some advantages that go beyond the basic transcription. And at this point, some of these features are valuable. Granted, I don't use all of them as often as I probably should, but I feel like they're worth noting to you because depending on your freelance business, you may utilize them more frequently than I utilize them. The first one is one that I already did mention. It's that Otter is platform agnostic with its recording and transcription, so that you can use Otter across platforms like Zoom, Google Meet, Teams, and even in-person conversations. I meet with a variety of clients that use a variety of different platforms for our meetings. So I find Otter to be helpful because it works in all of the platforms that my clients use. And I don't have to worry about using a different tool when the video conferencing tool or the in-person meeting that I'm having is a little bit different. Of course, Stream and Teams work very well inside Microsoft's ecosystem if you are using Teams. But in my opinion, it doesn't yet offer the same flexibility across platforms. The other option that I utilize a lot is the ability to search all of your Otter conversations at one time. Otter makes it very easy to search across all your recorded meetings and conversations in one place. So for freelancers like me who conduct repeated interviews and sometimes have a memory lapse in who said what in what meeting, this feature makes it so easy to find that content or to spot a pattern for that content across several different meetings. This way you can revisit those insights and confirm decisions that were made weeks or months ago. Another feature is the Otter.ai summaries. Now, I do recognize that you can use Copilot to create a meeting summary and action items. And if you're using Copilot within Teams, it will actually automatically do it for you when you record and transcribe. However, I do want to point out that Otter automatically generates these summaries and highlights the action items. So while Copilot in Teams does offer this, Otter's friendly user interface makes it very easy to access these summaries and action items along with the full transcript itself. Another place where Otter does do a really nice job, and I specifically really do appreciate this feature within the application, is speaker identification and transcript interaction. Otter does a great job of identifying speakers, and its transcripts are designed to utilize that identification so that you can easily see who said what comment, not just that the comment was said. Otter also works beyond the meetings themselves in that you can use it for in-person interviews if you're doing an audio-only recording or an informal conversation that never happened within Teams or Zoom. It's very easy to execute the app and use it. And that flexibility matters if your freelance work includes a lot of research, discovery, or qualitative interviews outside of your standard meetings. So, is it worth utilizing Otter.ai? Do I still need it myself? Well, that is a question I am actively asking myself. I feel like if all of your meetings happen in Teams and transcription is something that you only need occasionally, Microsoft is going to meet your needs by utilizing Teams and Stream, especially if you utilize it with Copilot. It's probably going to be more than sufficient, and it's hard to argue against saving yourself an additional subscription cost and simplifying your tool stack. However, if you regularly interview people, you build courses, content, or documentation from the conversations that you have, you work across multiple platforms, or you want to treat transcripts as reusable source material, then I do feel like as of the recording of this video, Otter.ai still earns its place. For me, Otter remains less about better transcription and more about how easily I can work with what's been transcribed. Even though I don't use all of its advanced features as much as I probably could, the combination of ease, flexibility, and transcript-first design still makes it a useful tool in my freelance workflow, at least for now. And honestly, reevaluating tools as they evolve is part of freelancing. The goal isn't necessarily software loyalty. It's about choosing what helps you to do good work with the least friction at an affordable cost. I hope this information has helped you, and thank you for listening. If it has helped, please do take the time to like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks again. Bye-bye.